What's up, folks? It's your boy DT 2.0 once again, and today we have something that I've been waiting for a long time. And no, I'm not talking in the ordering process because the computer actually came rather quick, but the configuration is what I've been waiting for. This is the Alienware M15 R5 Ryzen edition. It seems that Alienware is on a refresh overhaul, right? We've had the R4 this year. The R5 came, which I have right here, and now they just announced about a couple weeks ago, a week ago, the X15 and X17 that's out. Well, that's out now that you could order, but as of right now, it still takes a month for you to get it. The question I have here is, where does this place the M15 line? Now that we have the M line, the X line, and kind of sort of the Area 51. I'm assuming that the X line is replacing the Area 51 because the price is in the same range as the Area 51 was, but that's just my assumption. Anyway, I finally got one in. I ordered this on May 23rd, was quoted with the estimated delivery date of June 10th. Well, I received it on June 3rd. So props to Dell for getting this out to me faster than quoted, which I think they do on purpose, because talking to one of the reps a while ago, they kind of let the cat out of the bag by saying, hey, we always overquote the delivery date and we always deliver early. I think it was only once that it actually came on the date that I ordered it, and I think that was with the R4 that I ordered. Anyway, before we get into any of that, we're gonna do the spec rundown. But first, hey, I know y'all see these fingerprints all over it, and I'm doing this on purpose. Just so y'all can see that it does hold fingerprints. My hands are rather clean, just with these bum-ass calluses that I have from hitting that steel. But this is just the way it is. I'm not going to clean it to make it look like, it doesn't hold fingerprints. It holds fingerprints and palm prints. It is what it is, right? It's a black computer and whatever. Now let's get into the spec rundown. This baby has the AMD Ryzen 9 5900HX. 1 terabyte SSD, 32 gigabytes of RAM at 3200 megahertz, RTX 3070 at 125 watts max power, 15.6 inch full HD, 360 hertz Comfort View Plus G-Sync display, and a camera with Windows Hello capability. It is 100% sRGB, so yes, I did get the 1080p version. This is not the QHD version because the wait time for that was just way too long, and I wanted to get one of these in my hand to see how it performs. So I was a little bit impatient on that note. But hey, spoiler alert, with this 1080p screen that I have right here, I was not disappointed. I was kind of surprised by the way it looked and performed, and we're going to get into that later. Last but surely not least, is the Cherry MX low profile mechanical per key RGB keyboard. It seems they got rid of my favorite keyboard, and how do I feel about that? I'll give you my thoughts on that later. As you can see, it's in my favorite color, the dark side of the moon, with what they call high endurance coating and silky smooth finish. Yeah, it stains like silk. So whatever, I think they were a little bit over dramatic with it. Price overall was just $2,600 after taxes and after asking Alienware for a discount, in which they gave me about a $200 discount when I negotiated with them in chat. And we know how that goes, right? If you ask them, they'll give it to you if they can. If they can't, they'll tell you what I always tell you is, hey, just close out chat, reopen it up, and then try to ask another rep. I did go online to ask about the X line, and they have no options as of right now. They have no options to give a discount. So I think I'm gonna wait them out on that to see, because I'm thinking they're waiting to see how many pre-orders they can get, and if the pre-orders are not going well, they'll probably start opening up a 5% discount, 6-7% discount. So I'm gonna wait a little bit, and because them shit's high as hell. Let's just be real, right? 3,300 starting with the X15 to 3,800 starting for the X17. Yeah, I'll wait for my $200 to $300 because it'll be worth it. Anyway, looking at this thing, and let me take the power off. Again, you can see the fingerprints on there. You guys know already that I'm gonna show you everything as it is. This is just the way I've been moving this thing back and forth from my desk. It's now keep in mind that it is easy to clean. You just get a damp napkin and wipe it pretty good, and the fingerprints go away. But the good part is it's not white, so it doesn't really stain. All right. So let's look at it. Oh, my bad. From the left side, you have your Ethernet port and your mic headphone combo jack. On the right side, you have two USB-A ports, and just like the left side, you have a vent. And then in the back, in the junk of the trunk, we have a whole lot of space. Now, let's just get into this real quick, right? Because I asked for this last year, right? I said, hey, won't y'all get rid of that graphics amp port? And they did, but they didn't do nothing with it. What the hell, man? What the hell? I don't know about that. You know, we have the USB-C port, in which I said in my unboxing that this was a display port. This is actually a USB-C port, but they put a display port symbol next to it, if the camera can get that. And basically that's them telling you that, hey, yes, this doesn't have a display port right now, but if you want to use a display port vice the HDMI port right here, you get a dongle or an adapter to put in there and use display port. I don't know about that decision right there, Dell, when you got interstate that runs from the USB-A to the HDMI and the HDMI to the power jack. And I just finished off the other ports. So I don't know about that decision. You know, I'm just a little bit, I don't know, you know, I'm just a little bit in my feelings about how they dumbed down this line, to be honest with you. Because again, right, as you can see, those damn fingerprints, again, instead of them making an incentive to move up to the X series, right, by adding stuff to the X series, instead they took away stuff from this one and then pretty much made the X series, added a few more things. Dell, you're getting Apple on me, right? You're getting Apple-like on me. Anyway, looking at it from an overall perspective, it looks and feels pretty much the same as the R3 and R4, just with some minor adjustments like the vents on the side and in the back. It looks a little sleeker, and I think that's just because it's black. Or maybe just because it's black. And I've had all the other ones I had except for one. I've had the Luna White models, but to me, the consumer, it just feels the same. Am I going to get into numbers and break out the weight and all that? No, I'm not going to do that, because again, this is not the channel. There's plenty of other channels for that. This channel is, hey, how do you feel as a consumer? Hey, it feels about the same, right? I think I was looking at another review, and I think they said the tail lights or the exhaust lights in the back are a tad bit smaller than last year's model, but guess what? You would have to have them literally right next to each other to be able to tell the difference, because to me, once they turn on, they bright as hell and they look good as hell. Anyway, for those that has not been to my channel, as you can see, I don't do all of the glitz and glory. This is just me BSing with one of my buddies in the office. So this is a consumer review. If you're looking for an in-depth technical review, it ain't happening here. I'm just giving you the perspective or opinion from the consumer, me, who may or may not be experienced with computers. When all you want to know is, hey, when I get this mug home, is it going to work like it's supposed to work? And that's all. Is it going to play the games that I want it to play? So with that, I'm going to give you my likes, my dislikes, my concerns, and my overall recommendation. Is this thing a keeper, or am I sending it back? Let's get into my likes. I used to have loves, but I combined the loves and the likes into one just to make these videos easier and then make my editing easier, but it is what it is. That's just something on my end. But let's get into those likes. Man, these fingerprints are bothering the hell out of me. My OCD is going into overdrive. So I'm sorry, but again, this is a raw review. I'm showing y'all exactly how it is. But anyway, like number one, the display. Shocking, ain't it? Because if you've watched any of my other reviews, I kind of dump on 1080p displays. I do. But this one surprised me, right? I won't say I don't like 1080p displays. I just don't prefer them. My preference has always been 4K OLED. But it seems like the graphics amp port missing in the rear, that OLED, as far as Dell's concerned, is going away, and I'm a little bit in my feelings about that. Now, the esports and competitive gamers beat me up over choosing a 4K OLED display, but as usual, I didn't care, right? I don't give a shit. Everybody has their preference. So no, everybody has their preference. I love it. You like if you love it, if you like it, I love it, and vice versa. If I like it, you should love it too, because that's my preference. Anyway, I think our differences of opinion came down to the performance of the graphics cards and to push that 4K display in frame rates that it could not maintain. So even though I had a 4K OLED display and I had a 2070 Super last year, or even this year a 3070, it couldn't push that 4K to 60. So I always had to kind of drop it, or drop some settings just so I can maintain that 4K 60. But that's something that I preferred. 1080p screens, on the other hand, all right, are pushing way higher refresh rates, and this one is a eye-popping, buttery. Can I call it buttery? I don't know. Whatever's smoother than butter, let's just call it that, right? Matter of fact, let's just call this, I can't believe it's not butter 360 hertz display. Can we go with that? Yeah, let's go with that. It was clearly evident from the time I first moved the mouse, when I first powered this thing on, that it was smooth as hell. When I say it felt like moving the mouse or my finger on a trackpad was a one-to-one movement, it felt like I was physically connected to this machine. Scrolling was smooth, right? And it's not going to be able to translate on the camera because the fastest I can get, obviously recording, right, online, especially on YouTube, is 60 frames per second. But I mean, it was like a one-to-one movement. It's ridiculous, or what I like to call ridiculous. Yeah, I'm a patent that. You just have to experience it yourself. A 360 hertz screen is crazy. Now, as far as brightness, it's not as bright as I like. And right now it does look bright, but I have it dimmed all the way down, obviously, because of the camera and the lighting and all of that. But it's not the dimmest, right? I've seen dimmer on other brands. Let's just say that. But you just have to experience this thing for yourself. For this to have 100% Adobe, or not Adobe, but sRGB, it just doesn't seem like it. Colors seem to pop. Even this new background that they have right here, this new wallpaper that came with it, just looks a little bit more, it has a little bit more pop to it. So this screen is a little bit different. So that's props to Dell, right? It's almost, I'm not going to say it's almost like an OLED display, but it's almost to the same level as that display that they had on the last year's, or the R4's M17 4K display, where it was 100% Adobe RGB. And it just had some pop. This one, to me, looks a lot like that screen. I thought that when I popped this out, I'd see some fuzziness. I didn't see any fuzziness. I thought that I would get, my OCD would kick in because I can see pixels. I can't see no pixels from the distance I play, right? And I know all of the 1080p fans are like, I told you. Yes, y'all told me, and I'll take it, right? I'll just take it. Put it in the comments. I take it. For this particular screen, I was wrong. So, again, props to Dell, because they did a good job with the screen, or whoever made this screen. But anyway, without swinging on the display's dongles any much longer, just know that it's great. Like number 2, the color, right? I just think I like this color because I've always had a Lunar White model, and or the fact that Dell pretty much made you get a specific configuration in order to get the dark side of the moon color, which was the ones with the 1080p screen. They've pretty much forced you to get the Lunar White if you chose to get the 4K versions of either the M17 R3 or R4 or R7 or M17 R3 or R4. But this color is sleek. It makes the RGB elements stand out that much more. Now, I have lights out right now, but when it's dark, or even you may not be able to see it, but even now when I have a light, obviously y'all saw it in the stream, even when I have a light pointed directly down at it, it is still highly highly visible. I can't say that about a whole lot of other laptops. So the contrast between the lights and the dark is it's on point, and it's evident in the X line that they did the same thing. They didn't put the white keyboard. And hey Dell, I know y'all. I'm not saying that y'all listen to me, but y'all are fucking taking some of the tips that I said a long time ago in my R3 video when I was like, hey, the contrast, the keys or this part should be black while the rest of the computer is white. What they do to the X15 and X17 line. Yeah, I know. Anyway, like I said, it's sleek and it looks good, especially in the daytime. Now, I've been just hooked on black lately, so this really fits into the scheme of my desk. It was the reason that I got the Dark Side of the Moon on the Aurora R10. With the Dark Side of the Moon, you could pretty much change the RGB elements to any color and it'll look great. Now, how did that sound? For example, right, if I had the Luna White model and I wanted white lights, how would that look? Probably, if the keyboard was dark, if this was the X line, you'll be able to see the white lights. But on that hood, right, on this hood where the head is, right, that's with that white, with this Luna White, it wouldn't look as good unless it was completely dark in the room. And that's just one of my examples, right? I want something where I can just pick a color and just run with it and just have everything. I'm a matching guy, right? Coordinate. Anyway, I just can't see it as looking as good as on the Luna White model. The biggest drawback about this, and I've already said it, and I said it in the opening, is the damn fingerprints, right? Not as bad as a glass back phone, don't get me wrong, but while it is high endurance and silky smooth, you'll find yourself wiping this thing with a damp paper towel more often than not if it gets to you, right? And it gets to me, right? Like if I had a company coming over and they wanted to look at my computer, I'm gonna clean the house and I'm gonna wipe my laptop off so they won't be like, ugh, what the hell is he doing at this desk? Eating chicken wings and pizza and then touching this thing, touching this computer. And it's nothing like that, because like I said, I literally wash my hands anytime I touch any of these laptops that I have in here, and this one seemed to still pick up fingerprints, right? Probably have to put some rubbing alcohol in my hand to take all the berries and juices out of my skin. Anyway, just know that it's a black computer, it'll hold fingerprints, but it still looks good. Like number 3, the design. And I'm just gonna keep this short, right? Because if you watch any of my Alienware videos, which I have more, I think I have more Alienware videos than any other videos. I'm a big fan, and I was a big fan of the design, right? Dell just went with what works. They've made a few minor tweaks, but pretty much kept it the same. I think like I said before, I think the ring in the back. Well, I was watching somebody else's video that had both of them side by side, and the ring in the back looks a tad bit smaller than on this model than last year's model or the year before that model. But you have to have them right next to each other to tell the difference. I was a little concerned that they would do something dramatic with the design, but it seems, looking at the X series, that they're not going to go too far from the design base anytime soon. But guess what? It's okay by me, because I mean they picked something that just works for their brand. It's an Alienware computer. They're not going to come in here with a squared off Razer looking plain Jane computer and it's called Alienware. They're not going to do that. They're going to have something that looks futuristic, and this just looks futuristic. There's very few extra things on a laptop, right? And like you can see, this is the Legion 5 Pro. I'll be doing a video on that pretty soon here. I always keep laptops on this table just to make them scared of the other one that's being sit here. But this Legion 5 Pro has 4 stickers on it. 4. This one just has 1. And guess what? It's not crooked. I'm looking at you, Asus. I'm looking at you dead in the face. Overall, I like it. It's sleek. It's basically the Batmobile color of the Alienware line, and I love it. And you heard it here first, the Batmobile cover. So Dell, if you try to use that, I'm suing. Like number 4, and I was a little concerned, and this is a borderline like. It's a like. Let's just be real. It's a like because I use it a lot. It's the keyboard. I'm still getting used to it. I typed this review on it, but to me, it's just not as good as the last year's, the last per key keyboard. And I have to specify the last per key keyboard, because if anybody got that 4-zone keyboard, it was different than the per key keyboard last year in the R3 and the R4, and that shit was just trash. All right, that 4-zone one was just trash. It was evident that it was a different keyboard. Now they took that line or that keyboard completely or nearly completely out, because as I'm typing on this keyboard, I noticed that the function buttons and the escape button, these buttons at the top, are all feel like last year's keyboard, but everything below it feels like the Cherry MX low profile mechanical keyboard. Yeah. I don't know how to explain it, but the keys kind of snap when you're typing with a metal ting. If you listen closely, if you listen really, really closely. So let me just so y'all can get a little example, right? The last keyboard was smooth up and smooth down with the right amount of resistance. But this one, these just snap after you get past a certain point when you're pressing down. I get it. This is a gamer's keyboard, so technically you're not supposed to be doing a heavy amount of work on this, technically. But these days, people can't afford to have 2 laptops, so they got to compromise. This keyboard is good, don't get me wrong, and I got more and more used to it and actually started to like it after using it for a while. But it will get you tossed out of class or library like Jazz on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air if you're in there typing away, right? If you're doing a lot of typing in a quiet setting, you will get tossed out of there. Bet that. And if I was in there and you just typing away and I'm trying to listen, I'll be the one grabbing one of your arms and one of your legs, helping them toss you outside. Bet that. Outside of that, I like the way they added the volume up and volume down keys and the mute button on the right side. The RGB portion is still the king. PC or Mac, still the king. These lights, still the king. No question, still the king. It's even, it's bright. Even under this bright light, it's bright. It cuts through daylight. It just doesn't matter. This keyboard lighting or RGB lighting is the best in the business. The letters and numbers and symbols light up bright evenly throughout, which means they did more than just slap anything in here. I mean, I've seen some keyboards struggle to get this right. Asus, MSI to a certain degree, but Dell / Alienware has this game on lock, with Razer maybe coming in a close second. The trackpad, small as hell, but it's still the same, right? It's smooth. Just for a little bit of background, trackpads are the stepchild of gaming computers, right? Because I grouped the trackpad and the keyboard together because it's all human interface, right? But they're the stepchild, so they need some love too. But the first thing you do when you buy a gaming computer is get a mouse, and you only use a trackpad when the mouse is not available or you forget it. I get it, but it needs some love too, because if the trackpad is garbage, when you do need to use it and you don't have a mouse, your experience is gonna suck. This trackpad does not suck. Is it the best in the business? Nah, it's not, but it'll do, because Razer is better than this one. I have to give it to them, but I think after Razer, it's Alienware. And we'll talk about the Legion 5's trash ass trackpad when I review it. Anyway, it's smooth, and it could be used when your mouse is not available to get some work done. You'll get that with the 360 hertz. I can't believe it's not butter display. You'll still get that buttery smooth one scrolling feel when you scroll on this. When you move on this trackpad, again, it clicks just nice. It's even throughout, right? It doesn't feel loose when I tap it. So some of these trackpads, feel loose when you tap it. This one does not. It's great. So all together, this keyboard is great. The change, I had to get used to it, but at the end of the day, I accepted it. I adjusted, and I'm starting to like it. I am. Like number 4, Windows Hello. I love using Windows Hello to log on. It's quick, though not as secure. But I don't keep anything of value on my computers anyway, and I said that before, just games. I still think Dell should turn this head symbol into a fingerprint reader because that would be the most gangster shit ever, but they still won't listen to me. But I think on the slide, somebody is, because they're making those small changes. But Dell, come on, man. Come on. If Asus can do it with their, with their honeycomb shaped button, just slide one in there. But again, Windows Hello is great. It's sometimes it logs in so quick, man. Sometimes it's like logging in the iPhone. I don't even really have to look dead at it. It just catches me. Again, I kind of fear the security on this. So if this was my main computer with a whole lot of confidential data on it, I probably wouldn't use Windows Hello. I'd probably be using the PIN code or using the password to get in. But for me, having Windows Hello on a gaming computer, which is rare, is a plus, because this Legion 5 Pro definitely does not have a Windows Hello feature. And my final like, which was a change, which was something that I mentioned in my other reviews, was and everybody complained about it, and I didn't have a big issue with it. Let me just backtrack a little bit. I didn't have a big issue with it because I kind of accepted it because Apple was doing the same thing, and I have a lot of Apple products here, and they did it with the phone. You guys know what I'm getting at? No? Upgradability. We didn't want to buy the Area 51 and give up $4,000 in our first child, arm and leg, to have this ability. Now they give it to us in a cheaper package. Without getting too deep into it, yes, you can finally upgrade the RAM and the SSD in here and the Wi-Fi card should the new Wi-Fi standard come out, which I think it'll be a while before another standard comes out, or replace them if they become inoperable. As a consumer, let's just be real. It gives us a more secure feeling when we have positive control of our product, right? We have positive control of our product. If this thing breaks, I have first right of refusal to try to fix it myself if I have experience with computers. Or I don't have to overpay you to upgrade the RAM. I can just buy your computer and I can go buy some cheaper RAM somewhere else. So, we've already had the ability to insert another SSD in here. But, the Wi-Fi card was another thing, which is different, right? I'm old school. Normally, back when I had an old school PC laptop, you had to have a dongle out the side to have Wi-Fi. I get it. If that thing was to break, I could just throw it away and go buy another one. Here, in the last year's R3 and R4, you had to buy one or you had to get it fixed. Now, you can just buy another Wi-Fi card if it breaks, and that's great. I just love the fact that that they finally listen, right? They're listening, right? Graphics app port gone, they added more, they sort of kind of did some changes to it, made it sleeker, made the keyboard a little bit better, gave us upgradability. They're taking baby steps to make things better and more consumer friendly, except for the prices of these things, but we'll talk about that later. So thumbs up on the upgradability. I really like that part of this computer. That's all for my likes, surprisingly, right? And that was a long list. It was 5 of them, right? So it's pretty much longer than normal, right? But let's move on to my unfortunates or my dislike. And not necessarily a dislike, but disappointment. And that's the port selection. And I'll say this again. I think they knocked this computer down a tier. With USB-C becoming more popular these days, they chose to put only one in here and make it a combined, make it the option for you to use a display port with an adapter. So if you're looking to hook this thing up to an external display via the display port, it brings the number of USB-C ports down to 0. Really? Is that how y'all doing this? With all that space you have back there, y'all killing me. If it's not one thing, it's another, right? But in essence, I asked for this. Because last year I was dumping on them because I said, hey, remove the graphics amp port and do this, that. Well, they did one thing, but they didn't do another. So it's my fault, y'all. I said last year that Alienware should make it an incentive to move up to the M17 because the M15 and M17 were exactly alike. Just the screen size was just bigger and a number pad, and that was it. So they listened, but they said, you know what? It's going to cost you some money. So now you want those extra ports, you got to move up to the X series. And I'm probably going to do that. I don't know how I feel about that decision. Because you can't take things away. That's like buying, a new car when you had a model a couple years ago, and they said, well, the air conditioner is not standard anymore. You have to pay extra for it. What? I'm just gonna go buy last year's model. That's all. They did the same thing here. So, in essence, to get all of the options you want, you have to move up to the X series, and to do that, you need to cough up an extra roughly $800. So, a dongle it is. Yeah, 800. Nah, fam. Dislike number 2, the speakers. And here we go again, one more time, knocking this thing down up here. Bottom line is that they're not that bad, but they don't sound as good as the R3 and R4 models. They still have good volume, but the quality, and I'm really audio centric, or what they call an audiophile. I like good sounding music. It seemed they dropped it down a bit. I know the last model had a couple of speaker grills in the front up here, right? Up in this area, but this model doesn't. It feels, in essence, it just feels different now. Which means they only have down firing speakers on this thing. And you can see the grill right there. Hopefully you can see it in the light. There it is. Yeah, they have down firing speaker grills and not front firing, which means the speakers are just firing down. Just know. Nah. So I'm going to play something to let y'all hear it, and it probably won't translate, but it do sound like a bunch of, I ain't going to say that, man. I'm not going to get in trouble for saying something stupid. I'm just going to play it. Definitely not good as last year. I mean, it sounds trash to me compared to last year's. Trash. Don't expect good sounding if you buy this thing. Now, before I move on to the performance part, let me make my normal detour to speak on fan noise and battery life, because folks have been asking in the past. Fans are about the same as the R3 and R4, and you'll hear when I play games at the end of this video, you'll hear the fans. They get loud if you change the settings in the Alienware Command Center, or this thing heats up and the system demands it. Just know that. I don't think any powerful gaming computer are going to have completely quiet fans. Let's just get that out the way. But if you push it, this thing will run hot. Like the human body sweats, it's going to do things to keep it cool, and the fans are going to keep it cool so it can survive. So if you're concerned about fan noise when you're doing work, change the settings. And when you're doing normal work like word processing or surfing or watching YouTube, you can change the settings in Alienware Command Center to put this thing pretty much in quiet mode. Down here, and it says balanced, full speed balanced. Well, they don't even give you the quiet. Oh, snap. That's different. Anyway, you can put it in balance mode, and then it stays quiet pretty much. If you put this thing in high performance mode, it's going to go. The fans are going to kick on immediately, or nearly immediately. So don't expect the fans to be quiet while gaming, and if you do expect that, don't complain about your laptops running hot. You got to pick one or the other, folks. Get you some gaming headphones and just let this thing run. Now, battery life, yes, this has Optimus, and I think I mentioned it before, Advanced Optimus, so it can switch between integrated and dedicated in the dedicated graphics card. So the battery life is a little bit longer, but it's not going to break any records, people. It's not going to break any records. I don't know why people always ask, oh, how long does it last on battery? As soon as I unplug this thing, gaming performance drops on this one, the Legion 5, the R3, the R4, the Razer, the MSI laptops, any laptop that I've had in here, soon as I unplug it, they immediately drop in performance. I don't want that while I'm gaming. So, yes, I get it. If you're thinking about gaming on a laptop on battery, I say don't. And I can't quote you. Maybe you'll get an hour on that. But if you have this thing, let's just say you want to do some work on it or take it to school. I wouldn't take this one to school with this keyboard. But you'll have to probably do some things to stretch the battery. And I'm talking like dimming the screen, changing the performance mode, turning off Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and that's just a no. Just don't do it. Just don't do it, because you cripple this thing. It's not an Alienware. People looking at it like, no, what's wrong with your Alienware? Why does it look like that? You know, if you really, really need something to last long, go get you a cheap ass Chromebook or HP, right? If you want something to go to school to last all day, or even an iPad for that, or a Samsung tablet, a Galaxy Tab, or whatever, so you can take it to school. Just use Microsoft in the cloud and you're set. See how I can solve these problems for y'all? Because this is not the one, and I don't think it'll ever be the one to be highly portable and still last long. I mean, nah, it's not the one. Now, before I get deep into the performance area and the results, let me just speak on the true differences between these 3070 graphics card. Because when you see my results of these things, you'll say, well, hey, they all have the 3070 card, right? Why they don't perform the same? Well, there's reasons behind that, right? Even though they don't call them Max Q or Max P anymore, which kind of set when they kind of set your expectations for overall performance in the past. Each company is opening up and letting you know what the max power out of the chip, which you will see in the results, will affect gaming performance. Now, sometimes you have to go digging for those specs prior to purchasing. After you purchase it, it's easy, right? And I think I've already done it on here before. You just go to Nvidia control panel here. Of course, it's going to take a second to come up. But anyway, you go to Nvidia control panel, help. Come on, man. There we go. I'm getting impatient. You know how it is. System information. And then when it pops up, scroll down and it says maximum graphics power, 125 watts. Right? Normally, in this area, it'll tell you whether it's a max Q. It'll have max Q, and then it'll say yes or no. This one, for some reason, doesn't, and I'm fine with that, right? Because it still tells me what the maximum graphics power is. Anyway, like I said, sometimes you have to go digging for those specs prior to purchasing, but you don't have to look too far. I've searched for the ones on the ASUS, MSI, and Dell's website, and they were all easy to find. So just be mindful and take that into consideration before your purchase. That way you can set your expectations. Because again, these 3070 cards, some are 125, some are 140, some are even lower, right? Like if you have that I think the 3070 Max Q that was in the M15 line I had I think it was like 100 watts. So the performance of that, and you'll see in my results, shows. So let's get into my results. Now, as normal, I did the 3D Mark, Time Spy Extreme, Port Royal, and then Time Spy Extreme stress test. Now, the Time Spy Extreme test tested the performance at the 4K gaming level, and I just did that to keep the results, keep the test even across all the computers I've had, and the results pretty much comparable with each other. But as you can see in the results, because of the difference in the max power out, there is a slight dip in performance to the M15 R4, which had the Intel chip in it, and also had the 3070 that was 140 watts. So backtracking that a little bit, the M15 R4 had a 3070 chip in it, but it was 140 watts max power out, and the M15 R5 has a 3070 chip in it with 125 watts. But again, knocking this thing down a level. So just look at the results. For Port Royal ray tracing, again, you see the results. The M15 R4 is just slightly ahead of the M15 R5 with an 8% difference in performance. On the Time Spy Extreme test, it was only 5%. So you're seeing that gap getting bigger. M15 R4, 6391, M15 R5, 5886. So how does it do with the Time Spy Extreme stress test? Well, M15 R4 passed, and the CPU and GPU temperatures were pretty much 70 to 75 degrees the whole way, right? M15 R5, it passed, and the CPU and GPU temperatures were just about the same, 69 degrees to 75 degrees. So they stayed rather cool. But again, that's a test. It's not real world performance. How does this thing do in real world performance? It gets hot, right? This area right here gets extremely hot when you have the settings on your game pushed all the way almost nearly to the max, like I have them. As long as it doesn't cripple performance and the fans are going, it's going to get hot. So just to test something in real world, I did do my normal Shadow of the Tomb Raider, because it seems that game seems to push these. Well, Red Dead does also, but that game seems to push these computers and make them scream. So oddly, in a real world situation, the M15 R5 sort of outperformed the R4 when it came to Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And I say sort of because my M15 R4 was a 4K OLED, but I ran a test at 1600p. So I kind of cheated. When I test these laptops, I try to test them at their native resolutions to get a good overall test, but I also want to get a good comparison to the other like laptops. So that's why I dropped them down to 1600p. So to balance that out, I slightly decreased the resolution, and then I get some results. As you can see, and again, I'm having these all of the results of the G line, the M line, and then of course my R10. As you can see, the M15 R5 outperformed the R10, but remember my R10 was pushing 4K, a 4K OLED display, and I still was getting good frame rates. Anyway, M15 R4, 62 frames with RTX on, RTX off, 85 frames per second. M15 R5, RTX on, 74 frames per second, RTX off, 111 frames per second. But I know that if I drop those, that resolution down to 1080p, it'll probably be the same. Maybe the R4 will perform better. Well, the R4 will definitely perform better. And again, everything is on Ultra. So that's it for the performance. Again, I added that to appease some folks that wanted to see some type of comparison in performance between these laptops I've been having in here. And I'm pretty sure you guys were wondering, okay, Ryzen chip, different 3070. What's the difference in performance with last year's, or even this? It came out earlier this year, the model from earlier this year, the R4, and now you have it. Obviously, they beat the G line from Asus to submission, nearly to submission, but G14 held its own pretty much. But again, it's inferior. It's an inferior computer overall. Again, there are hundreds of other channels if you want to get more in-depth info. This one is just me and you just BSing in here. Anyway, if you want to see some gaming action, I am going to put that stuff at the end of this video, or to not make this video too long, I'll probably upload it as a separate video. I haven't made my decision yet, but I'll do that just so you can see, because a lot of folks ask me in the comments, hey, can you play some games so we can see the performance? I'll do that, and I've started doing that, I think 2 reviews ago, and I've been enjoying it, right? Y'all seeing me get my ass kicked live on YouTube. It's not fun. Concerns. Okay, let's just get some things out the way that's happened since I've had this computer. Now, as usual, let me just get this general statement out here first. As usual, Dell as a company, I've had nothing but good experiences with. Customer service has always been great. They're very motivated to sell, and will give you a discount if you ask them and catch them at the right time. And no, they're definitely not paying me for this statement, because I asked and they told me no. I did have some issues with performance though, and not gaming performance, just the performance of the laptop as a laptop. For instance, the Optimus, what I assumed the issue was Optimus settings. I had some issues with, because the gaming frame rates were just not getting right, and it just disappointed me. Nah, scratch that, it pissed me off, because this thing was not performing as it should when I first got it. Now, this could be isolated to just my unit, because I haven't heard any other people having the same issues, and I did some search. You know how you have issues with something and then you go and search on Reddit to see if somebody has that same issue. I couldn't find anything. It probably was because this computer is rare and it's new. Sort of new. But it seems that I don't know how to explain it, but I guess it would kick into Optimus while I was playing the game, right? I don't know, or switch graphics card while I was playing the game, because the frame rates, when I say all over the place, dropped to 20, then up to 100, then down to 70. It was just like, I'm like, hey, this is a $2,600 damn computer. No, we can't have this. But I was about to toss it out the window, but then I realized this mug is $2,600. I can't do that. So just like they teach you in anger management, I slept on it and then came back with a fresh, clean, refreshed mind to try to get it to work, and I did. And all I did was fumble around with the Optimus settings a little bit, did some restarts, did some updates, and then it started performing like a champ ever since. Other issues I've had with it, and this just happened today, like today the keyboard just decided to say, nah, I don't feel like playing today. I was typing I was finishing up some things on it. I closed it, walked over to the coffee table, opened it up, the keyboard lights were out. And I'm like, okay, well, okay, let's try to turn the keyboard lights on. Function, keyboard light, no keyboard lights. And then I realized, hey, I don't even think this keyboard is working at all. So I go down to, the magnifying glass and try to type something in here. Nothing. I had to restart twice in order to get the keyboard to fire back up and start working again. Now, I haven't had an issue since, but it just happened for the first time today. And again, this is just my unit. I'm not saying that's an issue, model wide, but I closed it, walked it over to the coffee table, opened it back up, and it just didn't do anything. So, but again, it could be just my unit, and I'm not complaining. As you can see, that was Windows Hello working at its finest, and I love it. Outside of that, in my opinion, Dell has a great warranty. Probably one of the best in the business, if you ask me, because they're a conglomerate, they're a big company, and they can spend money to keep a customer satisfied, because with social media, they know somebody can put them on blast, and they can that ball can start rolling downhill real quick if they don't get something fixed. I've seen it happen before with other companies. I mentioned before that the keyboard, I could be worried about wear and tear because of the snappiness of it, especially if you do a lot of typing on here. But I think I have to be typing a whole lot to be doing that. And other than doing a couple of spreadsheets and writing a couple of papers on here, I don't see me doing hours and hours of typing like I would be if I was at work, because I wouldn't use this thing for work or school. So like I said before, the keyboard could fail maybe, but I don't think it would, right? I don't think it would. But just the mechanical portion of it, anything that's mechanical, it can break down if you handle it the wrong way. So I will be a little bit concerned about that. It's still loud as fuck though. Last but not least, a concern of mine is, and I mentioned it before, this thing gets hot. So be mindful of that. But also, so did the last models, right? The R3 and R4. If you don't know, these Alienware computers are built to go. They're built to go into your stock. They're built to run hard, right? It'll throttle, but it'll throttle at a high limit. It's built to literally keep you in the game at max performance. So if that's a concern for you, you may not like this model. The area above the keyboard up here gets extremely hot to the touch when pushed. Again, so did the R3 and R4 models. This one does not have a vapor chamber, so the temps get a tad bit hotter than those models. Again, when pushed. We're talking max graphics, ray tracing, etc. Even though it stayed rather cool during the stress test, that was just it. That was just a stress test and not real world. During my real world gaming, it got hot. Would that prevent me from purchasing this or keeping this? No. If I was that worried and I was growing more gray hair, well, I wasn't growing gray hairs out my head, out my face, I just extend my warranty. If I was that worried, I paid a monthly fee to have it covered, so I get that top notch, or what they brag on, top notch Dell service, service, next day service or whatever, sending people to your house. Hopefully they got on a damn mask. Anyway, at the end of the day, this is Dell hitting me in the face with the incentive piece, right? Because this thing doesn't have a vapor chamber. You want a vapor chamber? Move up to that X line. You want those extra ports? Give up those ducats, green, bread, cash, bacon, moolah, paper, or whatever else you call money these days to move up to that X series, because they want that extra $800 to $1,200 to get you up there. And I ain't having it. I'm gonna buy one, but I doubt if I keep it. It would have to perform out of this world for me to keep it. But we gonna see. Now my recommendation. And this is kind of hard for me, right? Because I've been a big fan of Alienware, for the last year or so. If you watch my first video, I've been wanting one of these computers since, the early 2000s or, the kind of mid 2000s when I first realized somebody had an Area 51, but it was just too rich for my blood. It still is today. So overall, do I recommend the Alienware M15 R5? The one that I waited so long for, I asked for, I wanted it in here with the Ryzen 9 5000 series chip and the 3070. At the price I paid for it, $2,600, my recommendation would be no, right? If it was, say, $2,000 to $2,200, then absolutely. It still performs great. The screen, even though it's 1080p, is outstanding. The keyboard, once you get used to it, is outstanding. The look, design, iconic. I really wish they would have given us more ports in the rear and better speakers for $2,600. For that price, I'm expecting much more in the gaming computer, but nah, at that price point, they should have did more for us. I probably would feel differently about this if I didn't have this Legion 5 Pro in the house right next to it right now. And that review is coming soon. But this one over here, the Legion 5 Pro, has more ports. It runs cooler, bigger, 200 nit brighter screen with a higher resolution, and the starting price for this model that I bought that's in here right now with a 3070 chip in it was just under $2,000 before taxes. That's the tier this computer is at right now. But the price doesn't reflect that. This price reflects Area 51 price, which it doesn't perform like Area 51. Like I said, was that $2,600 was not the starting price of the Area 51 at one point a couple years ago? Come on, Dell, you got to treat us better than this, right? I know y'all gaining popularity, but don't be too big for your britches. My overall recommendation is just to wait until it goes on a summer or fall or holiday sale and then move to strike, because you won't be disappointed at that right price. This thing still performs great, don't get me wrong, but it's like buying a $200 hamburger and realizing you can get the same full feeling if you go to Five Guys or In-N-Out. And I'm going to let y'all fight about that in the comments, because I know how loyal some In-N-Out fans are. Anyway, I'm not saying I hate this thing. So if you bought one and you came here to get some, to get some love, you are getting love, but you're only getting love at the right price. Would I keep this thing if I tried to return it and they'll say, well, like they normally do, hey, if you keep it, we'll send you back $150 to $200. Then I probably would I probably would keep it. But at $2,600, looking at whatever's out in the landscape, especially with this Legion 5 Pro sitting here, which I can't wait to review that. We talking almost $3,000. If I added another $400 or $500, $600 to that, I can have an X series in here. Nah. Anyway, like I said before, I'll put some gaming on, some gaming time after this. But if you have any questions, hit me in the comments. Once again, this is DT 2.0. Thanks for watching, y'all. Peace. Thanks for sticking with me. I almost have 2,000 subscribers right now, and I want to thank y'all overall for that. For those folks that come back and I chit chat. I really enjoy chit chatting back and forth with all y'all, man. It brightens my day to wake up in the morning and see some comments. Some people try to get savage, right? But I always choose the high road. But I enjoy the bickering back and forth, because again, this is just like me BSing in the office with my boys and girls. I'm not going to discriminate. So if y'all have comments, concerns, any questions, let me know. But I'm going to let y'all know right now, this thing is going back in the box and going back, because again, the issue with the keyboard had me with a concern. And then I just think overall at that price, nah. Thanks for watching. Peace. trouble, mister. This mom got.
The sunshine always makes me feel like I can do anything.
Attempt to return. Back on offense, New York gets set to take over. And let's face it, this drive is not going to have any bearing on this game, but it's kind of important for one reason, isn't it?
It certainly is. You got to get points.